It's another one of those episodes I feel like we need to start off with an apology. I've been kind of putting this one off because this album is so important to me. It's so huge. We're going to do that ranking thing that we always complain. We always hate that we do it, but not really too sure how else to go about this album. We're going to be ranking from worst to best, or from great to least great. We Don't Need to Whisper by Angels and Airwaves. I'm so nervous. I already hate this episode. And why are we doing this, Pat?
You're a mess, man. I've been wondering why you've been so hesitant to pull the trigger until until the text I received from you this week, and it's all coming together. You are more fearful to do this episode than, dare I say, you were on your wedding day. Which is good. You were just pumped to marry Megan, of course. But yeah, you seem more nervous for this. But I guess we'll get into it. But I'm excited. I can't wait. Mostly because I know this album is. I thought it would be fun because I know you love this record. So you want to get into it?
Let's do it. What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. When this album came out, first of all, it was one of the few that I was aware of before the album even dropped. So I was able to anticipate the hype of it. I remember when The Adventure leaked and it was declared the single. There's kind of an interesting story behind that, but this has been so important to me in our buddy Zach since day one. I remember so many memories of especially me and Zach just listening to this album on repeat forever. At one point there were only 3 singles. It was Do It For Me Now, The Adventure, and oh God, help me out, guys. Maybe Valkyrie Missile. I forget what the 3rd single was. And I fell asleep to them, just those 3 songs over and over and over every single night until the album came out. Then I fell asleep to the album, woke up to the album, did everything to this album. It meant so much to me, Pat. And it still does. I'm
realizing you're a big repeat the song guy. Not that I'm not, or our listeners wouldn't be, but I feel like you're big on that. If you find something you're into, you're just going to live in that lane until your body physically can't anymore.
I mean, okay. I'm like that with a lot of things, with restaurants and with dishes at a restaurant. There's so many places that Megan and I will go to every 2 or 3 weeks. I get the same thing every time because I know I love it. It's going to be great. Why adventure? Why explore when you could be let down? Stick with the thing you know is great. And if I find a song I like, I'll just listen to it for on repeat days on end. And this was this album for years on end. Revisiting it over this week felt like hearing it for the first time all over again. Just truly an amazing album. And I know there's concerning Blink, there's Team Mark and Team Tom, and I don't know why it turned into a weird competition over members of the same band, but
over time I've become Team Neither. I'm just kidding.
I am so hardcore Team Tom that it's an illness. Nothing against Mark. I love Mark. I love
You're
a lot of his songs.
You're like the Bernie Sanders of Team Tom. There are anecdotes and pictures and historical records of you being so staunchly Team Tom from the fucking jump. So I was surprised to hear this week that you admitted perhaps you were scared to like this album, or you didn't like it at first. I think you were just sad that Blink-182 broke up, is what I think it is, if we dissect it a little.
Yeah, so I was so Team Tom that there was this girl I was in love with throughout all of high school, and she was Team Mark. And I was I don't know if it could work between us because she was so hardcore Team Mark, didn't really love Tom. Tom is on the same plane as Elon Musk to me in terms of most inspiring people of all time, which makes me sound so stupid. But anyway, when I first heard The Adventure, I was a sophomore in high school. We were sophomores when this album came out, and I had just really got into Blink-182 in 2000, late 2003, probably early 2004. And I think at that point they were already broken up or something, or they were just on the verge of it. So I was already kind of heartbroken that I barely had enough time with this band that had quickly become my favorite. And Tom was putting out new music, and I was oh my God, this is going to be so good. And I heard the adventure, and I don't even think I got all the way through the song. I was like, this is so bad. I hate it. I hate that Tom is doing this. It's so dumb. He should just stick to what he knows, which is like honestly what a lot of the critics said about this album. But the girl I was dating at the time, her cousin from Ohio would like come into town and hang out a lot, and he was into like Blink and all these bands. And I didn't have like many friends other than like you and Zach at the time who were into this style of music. And the girl I was dating at the time really did not like this type of music. So it was like really fun talking to him about Blink and Green Day and all these bands who were like my favorite at the time. And I remember he came into town one day and was like, dude, did you hear Angels and Airwaves yet? And I was like, yeah, I hate it. It's like, it's so dumb. And I love that he had like the patience to be like, what about it do you not like? And we had like a really good conversation about it. And he was like, I will beg you to listen to that song again and forget that it's any way affiliated with Blink-182 because it's not. And like, this has happened so many times throughout my life, Pat.
I was just going to say, who are these patient people that happen to be... These are like random clergymen and pastors and cousins. Like, are these real individuals?
Dude.
Like I saw a spirit coming across the desert plain and he said, Tom, I come unto you with a message of patience.
Okay. The Postal Service, Say Anything, Rookie of the Year, so many bands that I love now. I hated at first, and people like begged me to reconsider. And I am
My
so
main question
grateful.
is why? I know it was so cool of them to do that. Be like, I think there's a chance you'll thank me later. Like,
Well,
there's no
dude,
reason for them to waste that time and energy. But I'm also happy they did.
because we were like 16. Like, you were so passionate about everything, you know, like nowadays it's like, oh, well, you know, whatever, to each their own. But like back then it was like, no, dude, I need you to love this as much as I do. And We Don't Need to Whisper turned into just one of, it's going to be definitely a top 10 album for the rest of my life. I was like trying to compile my list of top 10 records that have stayed with me for a long time. And I got to admit, I don't like revisit this as much as I probably would like to, but every time that I do, it's just like, I feel like everything clicks into place. Like it makes me whole again, you know? And, really excited to talk about the album. I hate that we're ranking it because like I would
let the record show was 100% your idea.
It was.
You talked me out of ranking the albums anymore, but now we're back to it, which is fine because I think it breaks up the show well and allows us to kind of section off and schedule what we talk about and make sure we hit all our talking points. But
here's
yeah.
the problem, though. You had said every song on this album would be like a tier B, and I said every song but like one would be a tier A. So how are we gonna just do a tier episode when we all think they're fit into the same tier,
right?
But we don't even
That's
disagree on anything?
Yeah, so we're going to go back to the ranking for this just because we both feel pretty differently. Shock, club horn, big surprise, big reveal. Tom and I disagree. JK. But okay, I want to get into real quick. We sent a tweet out a little while ago teasing up some episodes, and you know, Twitter gave us some feedback. I wanted to read a couple of tweets. Austin started this whole thing off by saying, if you all need an additional Tom DeLonge echo chamber for whenever We Don't Need to Whisper gets crossed off the infamous list, shout out to the infamous list, I'm here for the squad. Which was nice, which is why we kind of quoted that and we're like, hey, give us your takes. Adrian came in hot. I'm not a Tom guy. Didn't like Boxcar Racer, and straight up hated AVA. I saw them open for Taking Back Sunday in 2006. Shout out to that TBS tour that we were at in Cleveland. And it was amongst the most boring live performances I have ever sat through. Austin replies, it was getting heated here in the mentions. he replied with what I thought was a very clever and short response, but it hurts, and I had to lull at that. So we appreciate the feedback. There was a little bit more for a few of the other upcoming episodes we have coming out, but
that was Adrian throwing shade
or enlightenment. It depends on where you're at. We've been at that tour, which we'll talk about later. I think we should get into it before the episode slips away from us as we kind of which song gets which stories out of us. But I had one quick thing I wanted to say before we start that, if you don't mind. The boring live performance thing made me cut back to that Taking Back Sunday tour where Head Automatica was also on the bill, which was incredible. We talk about it a lot on the show. It's one of our probably one of our top 5 shared experiences, at least as far as the show goes. But him doing the whoa, 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 like he didn't have a lot of training in guiding an audience. Like maybe Ben Folds would be better at that or something. You know what I mean? Like he was coming off like fart punk. So it was a little tough for him to rebrand on the fly. And it got me thinking about Portlandia, weirdly. Like Fred Armisen had his SNL career, is what he was loved for. He branched off and like Fred Armisen'd down on his own Fred Armisen stuff. And Portlandia was really good. It was needed to be different as far as like making his own sketch comedy show, coming from sketch comedy, but it was so brilliant and good that people were like, oh, it's okay if this is a little self-indulgent. And then that led to Documentary Now, which I find to be a little too self-indulgent. You know, like I love Fred, but you know, even like the Pert Bernardet stuff in season like 6 is like, okay, I can, you know, this was fun for the first 2 or 3, like really fun. It's still fun. It's still great. I'm not like hating on that show. I think what I'm trying to build to here is that We Don't Need to Whisper needed to be different and self-indulgent to not be instantly compared as just a Blink record without Mark and Travis involved. So I respect that he took it as far in that other direction as he did. But there are moments on the record where I'm like, why is this track 2? Why is this song here? What the hell's going on? Like, there's a little bit of like, what the f-? So I guess I'm like, both on Austin and Adrian's side, like this record is awesome. And listening back to it this week, I was like, how do I know all this? You know, like we often talk about those songs that are hidden in our brain. I'm like, I didn't think I knew half the records or songs on this album, but I super did. So, and we're so transparent. We did a road trip episode a couple weeks ago and they're like, hey, that's some pretty weird, deep Angels and Airwaves cuts that they're choosing. That's kind of off brand for Pat. It's like of course, we were prepping for an Angels and Airwaves show, so that's why it was top of mind. So you can probably guess the schedule of the show based on the we talk about if you listen between the lines a little bit there. But I think what I wanted to say was some of his, I don't know if like some of the, you know, I started reading one of his like alien novels and I was like, it's kind of fun. But that was kind of like the Documentary Now third tier of getting into Tom's fucking kind of his a little bit too much. But We Don't Need to Whisper is definitely like his Portlandia, I guess, if that makes sense. Is that too much of a stretch? But you know what I mean? Like he kind of like, I'm going to totally Tomify this whole thing up. There's going to be chains and tank noises and freaking, I don't know. It was fun. I like the new sound and it needed to be different. So I'm not going to blame him too much for it being a touch self-indulgent at times.
Okay, so this album was produced by Tom himself, and a lot of the critics said that was the biggest downfall. There was no one to rein in Tom from being Tom. And that's such a bummer to me because like again, unapologetic. I think no matter what he does, no matter what the value or the return is from that thing, like the UFO thing, I think it's so inspired that he's like, this is what's in my brain. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And people can either love it or hate it. And whether or not you love it or you hate it, I think there's a lot to love about that.
It was courageous. He obviously wasn't having a good time. I mean, we'll get to the last track at some point when we rank them, but you were telling me that was kind of his. We'll get to it when we get to it. You want to jump in?
Yeah. So, I mean, it is like it's self-indulgent and some of the woes, I don't know. Some people said it was pretentious. The album was pretentious. And it's funny to me that like the message of love is pretentious. Like, hey, let's love each other and be happy. And they're like, what a fucking dick, you know? But
I don't think pretentious is the word. I just think, quote, kind of dumb, end quote, is what describes some of this album. Was I into it at the time? 100%. Have I needed this particular medicine in a long time in terms of like psyche, like, you know, we talk about like, I listened to From Under the Core Tree and the first 2 Motion City albums like a lot still, but I don't really listen to this one so much anymore. I don't know. And kind of dumb might be strong because I don't know. Well, let me ask you this before we jump in. Is this something you blare in your car or is this a headphone album? You know what I mean? Like we talk about some all-time low Neon era shit, where it's just like maybe we wouldn't be bumping this super loud like publicly.
No, I would do it publicly. I don't really give a shit. I mean, I was listening before the episode and I have like the AirPods Pro or whatever, and they give you like decibel readings. And if you go on like the health app, it's like, hey, maybe consider turning that down a little bit. Like just blasting it, man. I don't care. I love it. And I'm
the
like,
health app good looking out.
I'm like scream singing in my basement. I know my neighbors can hear me. This album gets me going, dude. Like
Nice.
But
let's get in
a different way than like Rise or Die Trying does, obviously. But it gets me going. But let's start with the number 10 song, the one that doesn't really get me going. I like the song. I think everything is a tier B or a tier A. Sorry, S? No, S. God tier.
All
Everything
10.
is God.
All 10.
Except my bottom 2 picks, and I'm going to start with Distraction being my least favorite song. And I wrote in my notes, verses are fun, music is great, marching is so sick. I just don't like the chorus. It feels like a little bit of a buzzkill after how awesome Valkyrie Missile is, but the lyrics are heavy as fuck. Like, really, really good stuff. I think it honestly suffers from being second on the record.
I agree. I think it's a totally nonsensical track too. Any momentum you built from like the 3 minutes of no singing in track 1, it was a slow burn, and then you come in with this album's all over the place. It's a theme we'll keep returning to. I disagree. In a vacuum, I think it's one of the best on the record. I'm curious, this has tripped us up in the past. I want to hear your bottom 2 now that you've kind of described how you view the album overall, just before I give you my bottom 2. If you think that would be more productive.
Sure. It's honestly super painful for me to rank anything, but I'm ranking number 9 solely based on it doesn't make my usually your chest feeling tight is like a bad thing, but I feel like this album like overwhelms me with like this like potential energy that's just like ready to explode. Like I'm not quite like thrashing around, but I'm like holding it all in my body, and It Hurts does not give me that feeling. So
man.
Number 9 would be It Hurts.
Man, when you said we were off, I didn't think you meant we were this off. Oh my God.
So here's the thing.
Yeah,
Again,
sure.
I really like the verses of this song, like a lot, but it gets lost in the it hurts, just like it gets boring almost.
Oh man.
The ending is a bit boring to me. Like I like the verses, and I have like such a visceral memory of this song.
It's kind of his main thesis of his songwriting career for Blink and Angels and Airwaves is trying to befriend somebody he loves. I don't know. It's all over Blink's catalog as well. If you're bored by it by now, it took you several Blink's albums to get bored by this sentiment, I guess is my point.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't match the theme of the whole rest of the album.
Nothing on the album it just sounds spacey, and then nothing matches. They put fucking Distraction as track 2, which is immediate, like, maybe the self-produced thing was a bit of I think they're all, like, you could have arranged this in a way that was more helpful to itself, perhaps. But I am shocked that, oh my God.
So my favorite memory of this song is, remember when I was telling you that the girl that I dated for many, many, many years, that we didn't even want to be with each other, I was listening to My Friends Over You, and she was like, "Are you trying to tell me something?" Remember that?
I do. How could I forget? How could you forget? How could our listeners forget?
So
it's a dark moment for all of us.
So I was in her bedroom listening to this album on repeat, as I always do, and It Hurts come on, and him just screaming, "Your best friend is not your girlfriend." And she's like, "Are you trying to tell me something?"
Oh, no. Tom, how often does this happen? How many songs did she ask you that question to?
I was like, no, I just like this album a lot. I love it.
But
more
were you
than
thinking
I've
that?
ever loved anything, including you.
That's dark. That's rough. But it's almost like the song is like, it stinks that you can't be romantically involved with a good friend or something. I think is what Tom's trying to say is like, but you took it as like, your girlfriend's not your best friend. Doesn't she suck? Like, it seems like your teen brain was taking the message in a very like, I'm glad you're both moved on from your 14-year-old lives.
Rough, dude. And also at the time, it was like, but my best friend is my girlfriend. So I don't know if that colored it at all. That's at least what I was telling myself anyways. Kudos
to you for opening up at all. I never talk about personal on the show, so. Right. It's courageous of you every week to just, for me to even think of shitting on you for any small nugget of like nostalgia when I never share anything at all. So I apologize for just relentlessly ragging on you. But that is to me, just the fact that it happened twice over 2 songs and that pop punk lyrics are all kind of men yelling at women in like teen romances or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of telling that it did happen twice and probably could have happened a fucking lot more. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Oh God.
I'm thankful you didn't get into Brand New while you were with her or something. It's like, do you want me to get into this weirdly specific violent transportation-based crash? Like, no, I just like it. That would have been worse. Anyway, I'll give you my bottom 2 and I'll let you yell and rebut, but well, not that we yell, but okay. They're all solid. So heading into this, they were all going to be 1 tier for me, which was in the middle. It's solid album. I like it. I enjoy it. Give me The Gift in 10th place.
Okay. Sure.
I think that's at that point in the album. I believe that's the whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. But I agree with Adrian. Saw it live. It was forced. It was weird. Maybe he got better over time. It was like the first tour after the album came out, I think. Maybe not, but in my head, that's how it is. I just don't think that's I'm glad he tried something different as I tried to set up at the beginning of the show. It just doesn't work for me as much. In the middle, you're like, oh, okay, let's move it along here. Because I truly enjoy the rest, I'm going to do this. On one of the road trip episodes recently, we singled out Good Day and A Little's Enough as like late burn, payoff songs. I think Good Day is the better of the 2 by far. So I'm going to say A Little Enough is my 9th.
Whoa.
I think it could be skewed.
Okay.
They're all really good. We got to start crossing stuff off at some point here. I mean, I didn't want to fall into the trap of, just saying the last track was my least favorite, because we always talk about these on the album episodes. Are you ranking track 1 high because you love it or because you listen to it more because it's first? You know what I mean? So I didn't want to fall into that trap.
Sure.
I wanted to have like reasoned. There's 2 late burner payoff songs on the album. This one is the worst of the 2. And those 2 can't be the best because you have to be so... well, it's not like fucking Come Sail Away by Styx. It's not like the most legendary rock and roll payoff ever. They're just, a Tom DeLonge side project that both had pretty catchy choruses in the final third. So, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm breaking any ground here. Anyway, those are my bottom 2. The Gift and A Little's Enough.
Sure. I had The Gift at number 8, so I feel
Keep in mind, I drafted it for a road trip playlist a week ago. So I like it. It's a strong album. That's all.
Yeah. I think it's like the most fun beat on the record. Doom, da, doom, da, doom, 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 da. Like really fun Tom stuff. The production is like silly good on this record. And I've got some stories. I guess my next song, The Gift is good. I like it a lot, but it doesn't have like that power. I think that the other ones do.
I'm glad we're close. I think we often focus on the differences a lot because it's fun to yell, but I'm glad we had it in the 8-ish, 9-ish range because at least we're like coming from the same place if it's not the strongest on the, I mean, I don't know. I try to look for the connective tissue a little bit, so I'm glad you kind of agree.
Are you ready for my number 7?
You've already picked 2 of my favorite songs on the album as your least 2, so it doesn't get much more shocking than what could possibly come next.
All right. Get ready for the collective gasp. The Adventure is number 7.
That's fine.
Okay. Phew.
I might even just agree with you. Phone that one in. Pencil it in. This was the hit. You got some stories about this one. This is like the weirdest part about the whole record release in general, right?
The interesting story about this song being the single, I forget what this was on. They have like a documentary about this album or something. They have a couple of different movies and stuff, again, doing a lot with their whole like brand. And Tom was like, we're going to change the way that the youth perceives music. And it was like, we're going to change the world. And of course that's where all like the pretentious stuff came from. And I'm like,
excuse me, POD already did that. Okay. We haven't been the youth of the nation since the youth of the nation were the youth of the nation.
And apparently, I don't remember the exact story, but I don't know if it was Tom's email or something got hacked. And there were like a couple songs that people took. And the first one that leaked was The Adventure. So I remember Tom saying something like, the hackers chose the first single. Like, we weren't going to go with The Adventure, but that was the first one that leaked. So we decided to go with it and just call that the single. And I think that's so interesting. I think it was a good pick either way, because it kind of sets the tone for the whole record. Again, really great song, 2 minutes and 40 seconds without a single word, and then 52 seconds of an outro without any words. So like the intro and the outro of the song are as long as most other pop songs, but it's good, dude. Like, it's a really good song. I remember not loving how much hi-hat was in it. And it's really funny because I joined Nail the Mix, which is like this bedroom producer, I guess not just bedroom producer, but once a month they send you raw tracks of like a very famous song. And then at the end of the month, the person that mixed the song comes on and mixes it in real time. Like, if you have any interest in music production, it's a really, really great program. But a couple months ago, I downloaded the raw recordings of The Adventure that Tom Lord Alge mixed. So I got like all of the original tracks, like the raw drum recordings. And it's so cool to hear this stuff before it's all produced. And it was fun to hear like Tom's raw guitar parts with like, they were like really good recordings, but like you can hear little pick noises here and there. You can like hear him breathing in the recordings that like were cut out in the editing process. It was really cool, like really, really cool to get these recordings from 2005 or whatever it was. And it made me like appreciate the song a lot more, but I got to keep it at, it sucked. This all sucks. Number 7. I don't know. It's a great song. It's a great song.
I'll give you my 8 and 7 real quick, just so I can tag along here. I'm gonna say "Start the Machine" is my 8.
Ooh.
Due to unfamiliarity, admittedly. So if you're gonna trash the pick, you'd be right to. Do I also think the top 6 tracks on the album are better? Yes, but whatever. Okay. I try to be fair and not put it in the bottom 2 just because. Also, the fact that you suggested listening to it through the lens of a Goodbye to Blink attitude made it more fun. It's interesting. And The Adventure would be my 7 then. So working back down. Yeah, so we're down to the top 6 on the record, I guess, which for me includes your bottom 2. So
okay.
Which is confusing for the listener, I guess, but I think they're tagging along a little bit here. They can play at home and tweet at us, obviously, at _reminiscent FM. I'm assuming they'll all have, because we go in so different directions, we didn't even do a common zig or zag. We just did a 3rd and 4th option each and this all up from the jump. So please tell us the correct order on Twitter or wherever, Instagram, and yours will be correct. I assure you, we won't fight you very hard on this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time we rank an album, the middle could be in any order and it would still
Well, that's why the tier
okay.
system was interesting to me, right. Which wouldn't have worked for this episode for reasons we've already stated, but you get to tier 2 and the difference between pick 4 and 5 or 6 or 3 sometimes
doesn't matter at all.
It's a hair, it's a hair.
Yeah.
Especially on this album, because I like them all for being spacey and whatever. Like when you do revisit this album, it's for a pretty specific sound and reason. So anyway.
Well, it gets painful every time.
It's not going to get easier.
I know.
It was
Number
hard from
6,
the start when you mentioned. Yeah, I won't keep repeating myself, but like I'm literally, my jaw is still on the floor. I have to pick it up every time I talk.
Number 6, the album opener, Valkyrie Missile.
The is wrong with you, man?
Dude, this song. No, listen. This song is so fucking good. My picks 1 through 6 to me are all exactly the same. Like they're all just as good. And like these are like S tiers. Maybe The Adventure is going to
still haven't taken a late payoff off the board. So those must be your top boys.
Yeah.
Boys or girls.
Boys or girls or people.
Yeah. Interesting.
Collection of Carbon. Yeah, man. This is really hard.
It's a bold. So you talk about the self-indulgence, not talking for 3 minutes, and which is fine. Like rock and roll, whatever musicianship. If you miss the whole concept of the album, whatever, that's fine. This, there's not like every song should be a Spotify playlist able, whatever. That's fine. But it's like, okay, can we get just some words? Maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I can see the sun coming up over the horizon.
Yeah. Okay. Those were the words, right? Oh my God. Just somebody fart in their suit. No. Their use of the like walkie-talkie noise in some of the songs, I think, is awesome though. Like just
Oh yeah.
the chains, the walkie-talkie noises, the whole space. It was so fun. I don't want to get caught up in shitting on it too much for funsies, which is like easy to do on like a commentary podcast. But it was so cool. It blew my teenage mind at the time. I should
me too,
state that. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, they're using those noises in the music.
So I had a version of this. I don't know if it was like from my CD. I had a physical CD that I used to like listen to in my Walkman and shit. But at 3 minutes and 43 seconds, when he's saying, I'm here and I'm with you, I'm here, there was a skip between here and 2 that bumped it forward like half a second. And it was so disturbing to not hear that on the Apple Music version. I've just always had that skip. I don't know why. It wasn't LimeWire or anything, but I think today, or yesterday, listening to the whole album again a couple times was the first time I've ever heard it without that skip in it, and it was nauseating to not hear that. But this song is so good, man. It's so good. But we can move on to number 5. I'm already feeling unsure. Oh my god, I messed it up. I have Start the Machine at number 5.
Okay.
Maybe I should have flipped those. I love the toy piano. Like,
yeah,
love it.
It's a good album closer, but all of these songs, they're either album openers or album closers. We bring up, what do you do with a song like Distraction? I'm like, oh, you put it last. But then you're like, do you put all the album opener sounding songs 1 through 5 and then all the album closing songs 6 through 10? It's like, man, you wrote an album full of, you didn't write any proper middle songs almost, except The War. It's almost like The War should have gone number 2 after Do It For Me Now or something.
Bold.
But then, like, you can't just close with Distraction and whatever. What's the track 10 song again? Start the Machine. You can't just have 2 very ending. I guess track 5 historically could be viewed as like the Take a Break song. So Distraction could have been track 5, maybe.
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been.
Yeah.
It should have gone from Valkyrie Missile to Do It For Me Now. Like, that would have been a much better arrangement.
Into the War almost. But this song wasn't supposed to be a rock album. It was supposed to be a space album. So maybe he wanted it to be kind of loosey-goosey, no gravity, no sense of like linear time or something. I don't know.
Last thing I'll say about Start the Machine before I move on, there's some interesting stuff about like in their Wikipedia page of this album is actually very interesting. Lots of cool stories, but like Tom used to take his daughter, who again, this is so cool. His daughter's name is Ava, AVA, and Angels and Airwaves. He flipped the A on and upside down to make it a V. So the band's like logo is Ava, which is so cool. I love that. He used to take his daughter to an ice cream shop in San Diego, and there was like a toy store next door. They wandered in, and there was like this little child's like pink piano, and he kind of like fell in love with it. He ended up buying it and recording it in his shower, and that's where the music for Start the Machine, like that's where the arrangement starts with that little toy piano, which I think is cool as shit. Wow. And I love that in a lot of these songs, they start off really good, but then like the whole composition just like opens up later on. There's like a huge payoff, and like around 2:20, the song just like, I don't know, man. It's like you thought the song was already pretty good, but it was like in this like medium-sized box, right? And then the lid of the box just opens up, and like the song just like breathes so heavily, and like the composition is so dynamic. Like it's just one of like the huge payoffs on this record that like if you sit with it for the first 2 minutes, like you're listening to the first 2 minutes in order to hear the last 4, I feel like is a lot of this album. And I think this was a really, really cool album closer that like kind of sneaks up on you. So love Start the Machine. Maybe it should be higher. I don't know, but
here's a quick question. Better post-Blink song, No It Isn't by Plus 44 or this song by Angels and Airwaves?
This, hands down.
Wow. I disagree. Which I guess...
Anything on this album is better.
Then No It Isn't?
I think so.
You think everything on this album is better than the song No It Isn't, Plus 44's first song? Which
again,
is
I don't
the
hate,
Blink-182 breakup song.
I don't dislike Mark, but I just love Tom
man.
so
Get
much more.
Out of here. That's blind faith, my boy. That's dangerous territory. You can't even admit that No It Isn't is, of the whole Blink tree, which we've referenced on the show before, God, it's just one of the best to ever come from any of their brains. I don't know. No It Isn't is so good.
Okay. It's
It's
good.
just, oh my God.
I just don't care. I don't care.
You do care. You hated this album for like a while because you cared so much.
I hated this album for like a week and a half.
That's
like,
exactly my point. That's my point. You're making my point for me, man.
I hated the one song that was available, the one song, because I wanted Tom. I wanted Goofy Tom back, but then when I realized that's not it anymore,
he hadn't been Goofy Tom since the Boomer music video, man. Since he was Boomer in the first 8 video. He was Moody Tom from that point forward, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just saying.
Spiders.
The fact that,
and his Yed.
Elon Musk, it's okay if he's flawed a touch. I just need you to admit it. And I just need you to admit that No, It Isn't is better than some of the songs on this Angels and Airwaves record.
Dude, again, I like Mark, but his voice just kind of puts me to sleep. It doesn't inspire me.
Dude,
I don't know.
This is your fucking Beatles take in disguise. It's just a contrarian piece of bullshit. You don't even believe the words you're saying. You're not even listening to the fucking songs. It upsets me. I'll stop. I don't want to.
The Beatles are so bad, though, dude. Boop, boop, boop. Hey, Tom here with the amazing sound effects. I just wanted to jump in and say we literally talked about the Beatles for like 10 minutes, and I just could not let that go in the episode. However, if you're dying to hear Pat and I scream at each other about the Beatles, it will be in the Patreon post-show, patreon.com/reminiscent. You can check it out there, but I didn't want to just go wildly off target with this episode, so we're editing around. I just wanted to let you know it is available, not lost forever. We love you all, and back to the show.
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 real quick that are left on the board. Yeah, give me Distraction. I like it. I don't think it's placed correctly, as I mentioned, but I like it. But to me, Distraction is like, I don't know. I have a memory of an underclassman in college. We were at some party, and he put Distraction on like at a party, like when people were dancing. And I was like, I'm not a good DJ, but I'm pretty sure this is a bad call, right? Like, also, bold move as a very young person grabbing the iPod. It wasn't even my party. I'm just like, I'd love to see how this turns out for you, guy. Like, I don't know if anyone's really fucking cutting up any rug to Distraction at 2 a.m. when they're like several natty lights deep or whatever. But I think that's literally the nightmarish scene that the Wonder Years singer sings about in all of his songs. But JK. Getting lost in my own shit. Okay, and then let's take The War off the board. Let's take The War off the board.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow,
Okay.
wow, wee, wah. Yeah, that's my number 5, I think. Which leaves a good top 4, right? That's what the pace we're getting at. The War is the best riff on the album. Can I just say that at least? Can I sneak that in there?
Absolutely.
I just think, again, the track listing, I'm broken record already, blah, 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 da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, which is, when you really try to learn the covers of these songs, you're like, he's just playing Blink songs slower with, like you said, delay on them. So it's like the same chord progression. And by the time you get to I, Empire and Everything's Magic, you're like, feels like a Take Off Your Pants and Jacket riff just in a different time.
Dude, do not judge that album based on Everything Is Magic, because that album was f***ing incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
Crowds,
I think,
oh my God.
I think we're just saying that, like, most songwriters have a limit on when you start hearing similarities in what they are able to do. Some are better than others. Tom's really good. He's really good at it. He's one of the best of our era. But you can definitely see where, like, he's starting to bump up against the ceiling a little bit. That's all.
Sure. Okay.
Does it work in The War? And did I notice that until years later? No. But when I finally got to Everything's Magic, it's like, this feels like, I don't know. Anyway, but we're not talking about that album. We can carry on. Okay, here we are, top 4. We're at the big guns now. These are our favorite songs on the album.
Yes. What's your number 4?
I think it hurts. Jessie likes it. She'll play it every now and again. It's sticky. I think there's a stickiness factor.
Sure.
To the chorus, it's fun. I like it. I think it's my number 4. Somewhere in the middle. I think we kind of established before that, somewhere in the middle, there's, not a lot of degrees of separation, but it's not in my top 3. So it's my number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is Good Day. First of all, I do not remember all those whispers being at the beginning of this song. That really threw me off when I listened to it again yesterday. The toms are really massive. Like, I cannot even believe sounds like that happened in the universe. Such cool sounds on this record. And again, this is one of those songs that has like the big payoff, like after it's something I can't get my head around, and like that huge driving beat comes in with the da 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 da. Like, you know, whatever, it's da da da's, but like the Beatles did their na na na's, who fucking cares? But it's just good, dude. Like, when the beat like drops at that moment, it feels like, again, the thing that I like about this album is that like it collects all of this momentum, and then like at one point in a bridge, it just like opens the floodgates and lets it all out. And I feel like it's really interesting compositions, and I really like the way it's not so much just like verse chorus, bridge chorus, second version of a chorus, whatever. And even in ways where it is like that, they hold it off so that it's like there's this anticipation, you can tell something's building. And I think Good Day is like a good example of like that vibe of the composition on this record. And I like it a whole lot.
Same. It's my number 3, That Late Payoff. I think we picked it recently on the road trip episode. And it's we talked about this in the Wonder Years episode a bit. You know, the Hawthorne Heights episode kind of led us into a discussion about there was a negativity culture. There was Taking Back Sunday lyrics, cute without the all this cutting. And for there to be a song that's just like, I think I like today, I think it's good. It's something I don't understand necessarily, but I feel nice at this moment. And it was a rare sentiment at the time. And it's, like you said, it simply but beautifully. I thought I like it a lot. It's just it's a nice part of the album to kind of reach to. And it's nice when you discover, you know, like when you're enjoying an album front to back and you can get to a later song and there's a later part of a later song where you're like, you feel like you kind of earn it. You feel more connected to the band. It's a bigger payoff. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's nice. It's great.
Yeah. So we picked Good Day and A Little's Enough on our return home trip last week, right? Weren't those the picks?
That's my impression, yeah. If my notes are correct.
So I was horrified that when I was talking about, I think it was Good Day, I was talking the whole time about the guitar part of A Little's Enough. And I caught myself like at the end of the episode, but I was like trying to go over like the morals of like, should I edit in like, hey, this is Tom in the future, I'm about to embarrass myself, but I let it ride out. And I didn't want to mess with our episode too much. But number 3 for me, A Little's Enough. Big payoff for that song again. It starts off like a little slow and whiny, and it's like, you know, but then the I Can Do Anythings when those harmonies come in, and it's like, oh, this is going somewhere. Like, you can feel it so ahead of time. Like, you just know this song is going to be special. And then again, the beat drops. It's very similar to the Good Day vibes. It's like kind of sneaky good. And it's interesting that the beginning is not like indicative of what the rest of the song is like. And I really like that. It's like, rather than, again, that verse chorus structure, there's like themes of like first third of the song, second third, and, you know, the last third, and it all kind of goes through this different, like this mode of, I don't know, like the composition's so unique. I always really loved this song. I love the lyrics, and just like, even you look like you're sad, your smile is gone. And it's like, I was very much feeling that way when this album came out. It was like, I'm not even like, I can't really recognize this external view of myself anymore. And it was like inspiring that like,
so you took it as like a, you know, describing yourself. The narrator was talking about you in this.
Kind of, yeah. And like, just a little's enough. Like, it doesn't need to be this life-changing thing. Like, the tiniest bit of like love or light that you allow in could like end up becoming a much bigger holistic change than, I don't know, greater than the sum of his parts kind of vibe or something. But like, the tiniest bit can be the biggest difference. And I like really needed that at the time. So I loved it. I really connected with the song a lot.
Yeah. You know, there's a shed of light, cosmic, you know, space light. What the am I talking about? I should stop talking. Let me take that back. You don't have to edit it out, but let me try that again. There's a bit of light, you know, on the record where it's not just like Moody Tom anymore. He's a new guy. He's a new, you know, yeah, it's not self-titled Blink Tom. It's not, you know, it's He's having new, different grown-up thoughts. They're not the like San Diego fart band. Definitely trying to shed that, and I can't blame him. Reading some of those like Spin magazine reviews from Enema, heading into the new millennium, was like, these guys kind of suck, but their pop punk seems to be enjoyed by a lot of people. Like, I could see looking back, we were kids, so we didn't really know what the actual like narrative was around it, but I could see why mothers were not super pumped about like a kid loving Eminem and Blink at the time. You know what I mean? Like, or like like, cool, lots of strangulation and lots of horse fellatio on, like, okay, interesting. Like, not loving this, Anyway, that's a little Dude Ranch reference, not necessarily, doesn't matter. I could see why he wanted to shed it, and I think it was good. Overall, the album was, enjoyable. I'm ready for the top 2, or was that your number 2?
That was my number 3.
Okay. I have Valkyrie Missile at number 2, which I think you already picked.
Which it's as good as a number 2. Totally. Yeah.
I don't know. That bass line gets me going, man. It's a good album opener. Yeah. I don't even mind that he just waits 3 minutes, because it's like, okay, this is new. What are you up to, Tom? This isn't Blink. I get it. What are we doing here? And then it's like, dum, 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 doo, dum, doo, doo. I'm like, oh, Teen Me couldn't have been more into this song. I definitely love it. And then I don't know. It's kind of like that. We talk about this Taylor Swift thing all the time. That it's so fun, like off of Red, off of After Stay Stay Stay. But he's like, or Angels and Airwaves. It's just like, that was either the dumbest shit I've ever heard or the most genius self-promotion. It's just like, I'm into it. He got me. It's probably not the best, but I loved it, and I still do. It's just like, yeah, they are. That's what this is. Okay, track 2, and then they lose me at Distraction. But for like the first track, it's like, yay, yeah, I love this.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I had the same thought. The like, who do you think we are, or whatever. We're Angels and Airwaves, and it's like, part of me like wants to roll my eyes, but like, dude, it's like Jesse Lacey with like, this is the way you wish your voice sounds. Like, if anyone else said that, I'd be like, that, dude, get over yourself. But like, yeah, that is the way I wish my voice sounded.
Yeah.
So, like, he's Tom DeLonge. He can say whatever the he wants, dude. Yeah. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah. So, if you do Enema, if you give us Enema, you can do whatever you want. Right. It reminds me of the Saving Silverman scene where they're trying to break into the house, and Jack Black is like, over. He's like, you don't have to make the sound. It already makes the sound for you. There's like so many sounds on this song. It just reminds me of Jack Black with like pantyhose wrapped over his eyes, trying to eat like the leftover spaghetti in the fridge or whatever. Anyway.
Oh my God. Okay. So, wait, that means we have the same number 1. No, wait. No, sorry. We don't. We don't.
Yeah, we do.
Do It For Me Now is my number 2. I'm trying to keep track of what you're doing.
I already forget what would be your 1 at that point. Interesting. It's obviously my 1 because I've already gone. But yes, talk to me.
Okay. So this is one of the songs that I like, was one of their first 3 singles before the album dropped. I fell asleep to it every single night. I loved it. The drums are so powerful that is like so intense, and it just gets me going, dude. Like, this and my number 1 could be flipped, whatever. I remember watching the music video for the first time at Zach's really hot neighbor's house, and just like me, Zach, and Adam laying on the floor with like our chin on our fists with our elbows on the ground, like the whole middle school pose you get of
on the phone with your legs in the air.
Like, we were like that, huddled around this tiny laptop watching the music video. And I think this song gives me like more positive like memories of when this album came out. We were practicing at Zach's house at the time, which like for all but maybe 6 months, our band practiced at my house. And there was like a very short amount of time where my mom was like, I need a break. So we were at Zach's like right around when this album came out. And just, I remember listening to it with Zach in the basement. He got it for Christmas one year, like the physical CD, and was like so stoked. It's all we did was listen to it.
Well, we had been getting ready. It was his senior project to do. He pitched his senior project, which I guess Iroquois students each had their own individualized, like kind of a capstone thing, I guess. But his was to plan and put on a rock show at the local fire hall, because he knew his neighbor, that neighbor you mentioned, her dad worked as a fireman, I believe, at the time. But I think we had all the drum kit at his place because we were getting ready to do that show, if memory serves, for that stretch of that summer.
That would have been later on, but Maybe we were
okay,
at Zach's twice. But yeah, we used to have shows at the fire at like literally where they parked the fire trucks, and the whole fire station would like move the trucks, wash the floors for us, and we would like have 200 people. I don't even know how we did it in this
Those
tiny
were our
fire
best shows,
hall.
probably. Because
I
we thought
know
people were going to just shit on us because, I don't know, our name, we were self-conscious probably. But I think there was an element of like, what's going on? Not a lot in Lawrence Park ever. Oh, there's some at the fire hall. Let's go. And I think people had a pretty good time. We brought in a fair amount of out of town acts.
Yeah, we did. We had a few bands from Ohio and stuff come in. Really, really good time. But yeah, so like this album reminds me of like fun times with our band. And I guess that would be your number one then? Or did you say your number two yet?
Yeah, Do It For Me Now is my number one. I'm hearing I'm Cool the way that it is. I'm like, this dude's talking crazy.
Yeah. Dude,
I
it's
love
so
it.
Good.
I try and yeah, it was hook, line, sinker.
I'm trying. I can't. Oh.
And the whole me talking trash on the selection for track 2 is just a selfish thing. I wanted to ride that energy from Valkyrie Missile into Do It For Me Now.
Oh, totally.
And there was just, because it would have just carried me. Those songs could have been 17 minutes long each or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, right. I like distraction, but there's just a lot going on that, you could have carried me 5 full minutes into the album, first 2 tracks. And then the war, I think, for my track 3 would have been like a nice, like, okay, what? Like, but Do It For Me Now is hands down my number one. You could shuffle the rest, honestly, but I just like it.
So I was surprised with my own number one. I initially had Do It For Me Now, and then I flipped it after listening to the album, but I put The War as my number one.
Bold choice, and I'd love to hear your take.
Okay, so they're...
Not bold. Fun take, and I'd like to hear your take.
So, okay, lots of stuff around this song. I remember, again, a documentary. Tom was like the producer, but they had like a additional engineering from a guy named Critter, who Tom often likened him to like an additional member of the band. If I remember correctly, he's the one that passed away a few years ago. Their albums kind of went a little bit downhill after that. But there was like behind the scenes of like them taking boots and stomping them on like plywood boxes and capturing those sounds and slamming drawers full of like nuts and bolts and stuff in order to make like the marching sounds for this. And it was so cool how they like were doing like Foley and sound design and turning it into something musical. And just like the boots, man, like I'm very against, for the most part, war of any kind. I'm not like into like the military imagery and stuff like that, but there's something about this that like was different. Again, when they we've talked about it before on the show, when we saw them live and he was like, George Bush, the war, and like the crowd went crazy. Which is like, again, I've referenced it so many times. Like, there's a really funny Hard Times headline of like punk frontman running out of like generally acceptable notions to shout from the stage or something. Like, war is bad. Yeah. But I was like 17 and I've never seen someone on stage like that. Like up until, no, I was 16, 15. I don't remember, but like I was young. And at this point, the only like big show I've ever been to was like Newfound Glory. And they were not saying anything of value or importance from this stage, you know? So it was, it felt unique to me. I loved that show. I remember like throwing a pair of underwear at Tom that had like I Heart Tom written on the butt and whizzed right by his head, never even saw him. But the war, so it f***ing hits. Like it is a riff and a half. And 2 really funny memories of this song. We played it in my mom's basement once because Adam knew the guitar part and I was playing drums. And I remember like being so excited to play it together and then realizing like, damn, this is actually really boring to perform because it's just like, like so repetitive. And I was like, man, maybe this album relies so heavily on all the additional arrangement pieces. Like it's not just like guitar and drums. Like it can't just be fun that way. And then on the flip side of that, when we were at Zach's house, I had just found the tabs for this song and it's basically a D chord over and over, but like the bass root note changes to a A and then a B or whatever. And but on like a small practice amp, it sounds like the same chord over and over and over. And this is a long song. So I was like playing along with headphones on with Zach's amp really loud, just alone in the basement. And I remember at one point, Zach's mom being like, Tom, do you know any other chords? Which she could have just been yelling it at Tom DeLonge, right? But it just so like the pieces themselves aren't like that great maybe, but like as a full production, and you know, maybe I can see Adrian being like, it was kind of boring live. Like the composition, the arrangement relies so heavily on the production that maybe it didn't translate to a live show. I thought that it did, but I could totally see someone just being like, I don't know, live, it's just not really piecing together. I saw them live a year ago and I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more, but the crowd sucked, dude. It was all like 35-year-olds that like wanted to be a foot away from everyone. No one moved at all. No one even sang along. They just like stood there like their feet were glued in place. And to me, that ruined the whole vibe of the show, but I thought they were fun. It was really good. I love this album. I'm not sure I even stand by my ranking, but I had to kind of do something. But it's good, dude. Top 10 forever will be, I think.
Albums in your life?
Yeah.
I believe it. I'm glad we did this because I know you were nervous and I know this. I mean, you just said it as one of your top 10s, maybe even one of your Desert Island ones, which we'll probably do a Desert Island episode at some point here. But I'm glad. Do you feel good? How do you feel?
Oh, I left one thing out. When I was seeing Angels and Airwaves a year ago, I was at the same time emailing Tom DeLonge's PR person as I was at the show because we were trying to get him on this podcast. But she stopped emailing me back when she asked how many listeners we had. And I said, and she was like, he's more used to Joe Rogan numbers.
Is that what she said?
No, she just stopped responding, but I'm sure that was the situation. We are not as popular as Joe Rogan, believe it or not. So,
well, we weren't at the time.
Right. But to answer your question, I do feel good about this episode. We went off on the Beatles for like 11 minutes, which I'm going to have to chop up.
You can cut that out, honestly.
No, I'm going to put the whole conversation in our Patreon. Just all 11 minutes of bonus
you should
content.
Edit in a thing where you're like, at this point, Pat and Tom devolve into a 10-minute discussion about the Beatles, which they've had on this show several times. If you'd like to listen, head on over to the Patreon bonus page. And here's the rest of the show.
I might actually.
You should. There's no reason.
Anyways.
We went on for too long, and I blame myself. There's no reason. Especially when taste is subjective and nothing matters like that. So,
yeah.
Why this happens every 5 episodes or so? Again, I blame myself. I'm sorry to everyone for everything.
Can you quickly give me your top 10 in order? Do you have it on hand?
I wish I could, man. I've been deleting them as I go off the dock so I don't repeat.
Okay. Starting at the bottom for me, Distraction, It Hurts, The Gift, The Adventure, Valkyrie Missile, I'm Sorry, Start the Machine, Good Day, A Little's Enough, Do It For Me Now, and The War. I don't feel good about my order, but again, you could have put them in any order and I would have been like okay with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think The Gift was low. I think we've established a couple things. The War is good. The Gift is not as good. Do It For Me Now is the best. And not the best on the record, but it's just really good. I think those are the main 3 themes. And Distraction is a good song that would have not helped by its placement on the album. Other than that, you can kind of shuffle any of our takes, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, damn, dude. You want to give a song of the week and head over to the post show for the Patreon supporters?
Yeah. Yeah, we can record a couple. If it's not going to be the Beatles thing, but we'll do a couple takes in case you end up doing that. My song of the week is Kyoto by Phoebe Bridgers. There's new Phoebe Bridgers. I was not cool enough to try Phoebe Bridgers before this week, but Kyoto is a good tune off of her new piece of work, which I think is called Kyoto as well, but Google might be doing me dirty on that one. I'm not sure that's correct.
Okay.
I was kind of shocked to be reading about her on Rolling Stone, or actually, let me back up. There was an article written about her in the Rolling Stone recently, and her and Haley Williams have been hanging out or something. Anyway, they have been talking, and it's just like, come for the Phoebe Bridgers interview, stay for the tits. And I was like, what's this now? And Phoebe Bridgers had tweeted like, sorry, Mom, I took my shirt off in a CVS. And that was accurate. There's a Rolling Stone photo shoot where they're in a CVS, and those things, they're correct. That takes place. And so I'm not saying that's what had done it. I think we went on our like Julian Baker, new female solo indie artist thing a couple years ago, and Phoebe Bridgers was just like the last of that list I had to get to. But yeah, Kyoto's fun. It's good. I should probably dig deeper into that catalog, but nice new stuff. Yeah, I like it.
Cool. This is such a lame pick for me, but Megan and I were looking for a movie the other day, and this has happened a few times where we're like, oh my God, this looks so dumb. Should we watch it just to make fun of it? Like Guy Fieri, like we were watching Guy's Grocery Games. We ended up being like the biggest Guy Fieri fans. She was like, oh my God, Pitch Perfect looks so lame. Should we watch it? And it ended up being like one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
No, Pitch Perfect is not only not bad, it's very, very good. And
right.
Yeah,
I thought it would be like it would take itself seriously. I didn't realize it was like a satire or something.
It's just a very funny movie. Yeah, no strings attached. It's just very funny. Yeah.
But the Cup song, I've heard it before. Whatever. It's a really fun little jam. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. I listened to that quite a bit today.
I think that charted at the time. It might not have, but I think there's like an Anna Kendrick sang version of that song that actually made some noise at the time, which kind of speaks to the power of the movie. There's like a cult following. I think my wife has a polo that a tank top that she wears to bed. She has like a rotation of them, but one of them says, "Let's remix this business," which she got at some like promotional event when she was in college or something, but it's a Pitch Perfect tank top.
Oh my God.
I've always liked it. But yeah, no, it's a tremendous movie for sure. Also, Guy Fieri, there's like a hilarious TikTok that goes around where there's this drunk guy trying to be like, you all make fun of Guy Fieri like it's this tongue-in-cheek inside joke. That dude has officiated countless gay weddings. He's a hero. And I tend to agree because I believe that's accurate, unless it's not. Please tweet us if it's not. But other than the fact that his restaurant chain that he launched kind of sucked, what has he done that's been not generally like fun? I don't know. And the fact that he's kind of an advocate for, gay marriage and everything was, I don't know, fun little, if you dig a little deeper, you're like, okay, Guy Fieri, I with you.
Well, and it's like he goes to small towns no one wants to visit and like puts these tiny restaurants no one would ever go to in the spotlight. And like, what could you possibly hate about this guy?
I love rewatching that show because you're like, it really is just him taking big ass bites of things. like the cooking stuff isn't that enough to help you make it or even be in, I don't know. It's fun. Anyway, we could talk about Guy Fieri forever.
Guy's Grocery Games, it's like a competition show, but it's like so friendly, like he helps you out and like lets people cheat and stuff. So it's just very positive. But we watched Pitch Perfect 1 and 2 back to back. We saw 3 had really low ratings, but I'm tempted to just buy all 3 and watch all 3 on repeat for the rest of my life. But yeah. So anyway, big Anna Kendrick fan. For sure.
So what's your song of the week?
The Cup song. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Oh, damn. Okay, nice.
I don't feel good about it, but I just been
you should feel fine about it. You should feel A-okay.
It's more of a guilty pleasure type thing. I would not be blasting that through my car stereo. That's a headphone song for sure.
Oh, no, that's a car blaster for sure. And I mean that. I don't know how you guys entered into that. You should be proud that you've discovered a fun comedy that everyone seems to agree is just fun and great and nice. So, yeah, blasted.
I don't feel weird about the movie. Just, whatever. Anyways.
Right, you had mentioned that, like,
dig myself into
you want to watch this bad movie for fun, which is a thing a lot of couples do, or people do in general. But I'm so happy that you happen to stumble upon one of the best comedies of the last 2 decades.
It's incredible.
In doing so, yeah.
Incredible. All right, well, the album shows always go long. Let's get out of here. Head over to Patreon. Thanks for listening to the whole episode, a long one. Tweet at us again at _reminiscentfm. Let us know what order you would put the songs in. We only want to hear good takes about the album because it's one of the best ever produced.
Yeah, and if you have anything bad to say, get out of here, Adrian.
Get the JK. Out of here. Unsubscribe.
I'm just kidding. I love Adrian's takes because they're often better than ours. We're like, damn.
If
Adrian ever starts his own show, then he's totally going to push us out of our own market we've created because he's just way better at this than we are. Okay. At this point, we should cut the Beatles thing out just for length purposes. But right. Tom, I love you. I'll talk to you next week.
All right. Love you too, man. See ya. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I know a couple of you were asking over the past couple months for us to do this episode, and I'm really happy that we finally did it. Not feeling confident about my picks. I don't think Pat is either. but we're here, we did it. Let us know on Twitter how wrong we are at _reminiscentfm. And you can check out the post-show bullshit at patreon.com/reminiscent. We'd be happy to have you as a supporter. Lots of behind the scenes photos, videos, bonus episodes, all kinds of stuff there. We hope to see you there. Talk to you next week. We love you all. Bye.